The word consistency is defined as doing things over and over again and having good results. Or in simpler terms, Bruno Fernandes.
Bruno Fernandes! Bruno Fernandes!
This is not your typical footballer. This is a player that stands out from the crowd. A player with a talent which no other player has. A talent that begins all the way back on the 27th of August 2012. Fernandes joined the youth team of Novara FC, an Italian football club in the Serie B, after spending most of his youth career in Portuguese side Boavista. He initially struggled to adapt to the Italian setting, but he managed to settle in as he managed to outperform the youth team and was soon promoted to the first team due to his technical skill and maturity despite his young age. He still managed to play a handful of games before the end of the season. These couple of games gained traction from many big Serie A clubs like Inter Milan and Juventus. However, he decided to join Udinese as he favoured more game time. He got consistent minutes in the Serie A for 3 years at Udinese, playing as a central midfielder. Now, to be fair, stats weren't mind-blowing, but it was his creativity and aggression that stood out from the crowd. He eventually left for another Italian side, Sampdoria, for a year before making the biggest jump of his career yet, moving back to Portugal to play for Sporting at the cost of €8.5 million. This was the turning point for Fernandes as he was finally given the chance to show his worth on the bigger stage, and it's safe to say he did exactly that. In just 2.5 seasons at Sporting, he managed 137 games, and within those, 63 goals and 52 assists. This wasn't just a slow rise, this was a complete explosion. He had the freedom to play in pretty much any midfield position, whether he wanted to play behind the striker, control the centre, or even drop deep to collect the ball. He could literally do it all. He thrived in Sporting's system and became their main free kick and penalty taker, as well as captaining the club from 2018 onwards. He had solidified himself as a league favourite and started gaining lots of attraction from even bigger clubs. But there was only one that stood out for him, and thus, on the 29th of January 2020, Bruno Fernandes joined Man United for £50 million. At this moment in time, United were really struggling in terms of creativity on the pitch. They had midfield talents like Lingard and Pogba, however they needed someone more efficient in the middle. He made an instant impact within the team, being thrown pretty much instantly into the starting lineup. He rescued the team from 7th to 3rd within the remainder of that season. He won back-to-back Player of the Month awards as well as picking up United's Player of the Season. All of this in just 5 months of playing. He carried his form into the next season, and despite the Europa League final loss, he remained stronger than ever, recording a major 28 goals and 17 assists across all competitions. He was seen as completely unstoppable. Despite an underwhelming 21-22 season, Bruno still managed to be a top assister in the UCL. However, fans began to grow frustrated over Bruno's moany attitude on the pitch and would be seen to be a big problem later on. He managed to pick his form back up under new manager Erik ten Hag in the 22-23 season, being surrounded by attackers like Garnacho and Rashford and the mighty Wout Weghorst. He managed to create the most chances that season, and the most from any United player since 2004, helping the team win the Carabao Cup as well as qualify for the Champions League once again. Since Bruno got the captain's armband in July 2023, he's kept at a consistent level. Despite the lowest of lows at the club, he still managed to put in record numbers in back-to-back seasons. This brings us up to the present day, where Bruno is now playing in a deeper role under Amorim, and yet is still their standout player, performing week in and week out, and yet still, people question him. But why? Well, first we have to ask, what is he actually good at? And the answer is literally everything. You want to put him up front? Sure. You want to put him in defence? Sure. You want him as goalkeeper? Sure. He'd be the best keeper there. Bruno's flexibility across the pitch is one of his strongest attributes. He's found a role of playing deeper within Amorim and kind of being the cover over the defence, which has been proven successful, yet he still manages to find gaps within the attack and give them chances. His versatility is something seen in no other player but him. Sometimes when he is playing higher up at the pitch, you can't ignore his creative ability. You can see here that his passing ability is one of the best in the world, being in that top few players within any stat. Passes attempted, total pass distance, progressive passes, all the things that you can see Bruno really shines in. He outperforms big name players like Yamal, Gyökeres, Salah and more when it comes to his passing. And the fact he's managed 15 assists with an attack of, well, damn, is genuinely the most impressive thing in football. But it's not just creating goals. When it comes to actually scoring them, Bruno is pretty much the best in the team in doing so, and even one of the best in the league. As a deep midfielder, he still managed an impressive 14 goals this season. Even in a struggling season, he managed to overperform his XG and was clinical when United needed him most. His pressing and aggression towards defenders has also led to a numerous amount of chances and even goals this season, and is another of tons of different attributes Bruno has. However, it's not all just great and happy when it comes to Bruno Fernandes. No player is perfect, and for Bruno, this comes in the form of two different things. Two things that have the potential to separate him from some of the greats, and they are risk and attitude. Let me explain. Fernandes likes to take a risk. A lot of risks. Now usually you only see in highlights successful risks, like risks that go well. But when you actually watch the full 90 minutes, he loses the ball from a lot of silly mistakes. He often shoots from long distances for no reason, which ends 99% of the time in row Z, instead of actually building the attack. However, personally, I don't see this as a huge issue, as despite his rather low success rate, he still manages to deliver and save the club from disastrous results. And the second, and probably biggest setback, is his attitude. I mentioned this in a video I did on Bruno a little over a year ago now, and I do think it has improved, but it still needs work. His whiny attitude on the pitch is a huge problem that needs to be fixed. Being the captain of a club to just go and whine and throw your arms around the pitch is unacceptable. However, his passion for the club is something that has shifted in the last year. Despite most people saying how he's not captain material, I now think he's one of the best captains the club has ever had. I mean, rejecting £700,000 a week just to play for a 15th place Man United team with no hope of Europe next season just shows how much he cares for the club and how important he's going to be for the future. So the question is now, is he really human? Well, to find out, why not just watch this video right here.